visitors, anybody this morning?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Singh.
Bill Seigel, James Vincent Drive, Chairman of the Republican Town Committee. I rise to speak in behalf of Doug Traynor to fill a vacancy on the Board of Education. That's a vacancy of a resignation of a Republican official, so we feel it's our prerogative, by custom and tradition at least, to fill that vacancy. We had a very spirited and very good meeting at our regular April meeting where this was thoroughly discussed. There were two candidates with a lot of good questions, a lot of good back and forth, very civil. I want to put the rumors down. I don't tolerate uncivility anymore. And both candidates had several opportunities to speak and answer questions. A vote was taken, and Mr. Traynor was selected, so hence we put that forward. I have served with Doug on the Watson Committee, for example, and he's a highly qualified candidate. He's a well-known financial expert. He attends meetings. He does his homework. He asks the right questions. And there's absolutely no reason why he shouldn't serve on the Board of Education. I think it will bring a different perspective to the board. He will ask questions. If those questions make people uncomfortable, so be it. Those questions should have been asked before by somebody else. So I think it brings something to the board they may be missing. You may note that Phil Williams, Chairman of the Board of Ed, sent you an email where he very vigorously endorsed Doug for the seat. He has no problem with Mr. Traynor. I noticed you had a missile from Brad Sullivan. I didn't see it, but I saw Selectman Walter's response. Apparently it was quite disparaging. I would suggest to Mr. Sullivan that people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. I also got a couple of calls from, let's call them pro-education people. One was in distress over this. And, you know, these are people I would consider liberals. And I want to know what happened where so-called liberals, and perhaps Mr. Sullivan is in this category, can't even stand any dissent or any questioning of anything. And you've seen this nationwide. People are shouted down. You can't even let anybody sit on these boards. You can't let anybody question anything that's going on. You got to get in line and march down the line. This is crazy. I mean, this is really crazy. So I hope you resist, you know, these appeals. So anyway, I think that's it. He can speak for himself. We're perfectly confident. As I said, he does his homework, he asks the right questions, he's prepared. He attends all the meetings, and I think he'll be an asset. Does he have some rough edges? Absolutely. And I say that standing in front of him. He has some rough edges, but sometimes you got to scrape them off to get to the diamond underneath. And I think there is one underneath. And I've served with him, and you know, politics can be a rough game. So I think some people have too thin a skin, maybe. I think this go along to get along attitude is wrong. It's a disservice to the town. And if people get uncomfortable, that's too bad. We're spending millions of dollars, and people are condemned if they dare to question it. This is wrong. So I ask you to do the right thing and appoint him to fill this vacancy. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Okay, anybody else?
I would like to, I hope you, I'm sorry, I have to read this. Bear with me.
Okay.
What is the Board of Education? I can tell you what it's not. It's not a popularity contest, a high school game of friend me or unfriend me on Facebook. It's a job for grown-ups with grown-up skills. In education, the state of Connecticut gives authority and responsibilities to delegate to local boards, and this is done through general statutes. Board members act as agents of the state, and recently the federal government as well. They can be sued, they can be taken to court. It's serious business. I don't get what the controversy is here. Doug Traynor is someone with an oversight background and accountability. For God's sakes, he worked for the federal government and the SEC. Competent? There's no question. Do we want our highly valuable children's education to be represented by a board going with the flow, down the path of least resistance, unquestioning? Don't you want members with excellent analytical skills? For the greater good of the town and in a democracy of transparency, all voices should be represented, competent voices. Could qualified reasons for the opposition for this person's appointment be defended in court? I doubt it. The Board of Education receives the biggest piece of all taxpayers' dollars. Millions and millions. All money from your pockets to spend as it wishes. Doug Traynor is trustworthy, competent, highly skilled mathematically, qualified, and no one can argue he's mature enough to take on the job. Thank you.
So, Sam?
I think that's a compliment.
So I'm the only one here speaking in opposition of Mr. Traynor. I'm not going to speak about the hearsay of the antics that happen in meetings. I'm concerned as a member of the EDC that the EDC hasn't really progressed in a number of years. So someone who's on a member of that committee hasn't proven that he's a playmaker and can make things happen. Ona just spoke to the, same old in the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed just recently in November had a turnover of a lot of people who had been on the board, maybe passing things over and over again. And this is a great opportunity for us to change and progress as a community in addition to what Mr. Kravitz was speaking about. My personal experience with Mr. Traynor happened during the 350th, and when we presented to the Board of Finance support, and Mr. Traynor said, pretty much refused to listen to us because according to his calculations, the town wasn't 350 years old. That wasn't we didn't come up with this committee, on our own that it was 350 years old. Precedent had been set. Mr. Traynor refused to kind of listen to us after that point. I think someone who wants to serve on the Board of Ed needs to be willing to listen, willing to work with many people. We do spend millions of dollars. The unfortunate thing is a lot of those millions of dollars are spent on special education, not one thing that the Board of Ed can change. That is a federal and state problem because we are required to spend those monies on our special ed students. Is it, in some people's opinion, excessive? Yeah. Is it the Board of Ed's problem or fault? No. I am not sure that Mr. Traynor is willing to work as hard and diligently to understand all the new testing that is taking place. The Common Core is a very controversial testing. It's going to require lots of hours. And again, he didn't spend the hours on the EDC. How is it going to change for the Board of Ed? He can't just be a controversial member just to I'm saying no because people around me say I should say no and we spend too much money. Well, sometimes our hands are tied and we need to make sure that the people who are representing not just me, but all of you who don't necessarily agree with the budgets that's set forth is to really understand what's happening behind those numbers and how we have to, and I think there was other members of, that were nominated that understand those systems and don't just go by the wayside or is a friend, let's friend me on Facebook. That's not how we all operate. So you can shake your head if you want, but I'd encourage you to speak to other people who know me because I've been butt heads with people on different things. So I ask you to listen to the people who I'm hoping as voices of the town that you've talked to other members of the town on this and that you make a choice that's in the best interest of the town and the students. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah, as a 52-year resident of Clinton, my
I was
firm.
gonna say.
Yeah. That's how I look, not really how I look.
Yeah, right.
But I firmly support Doug's serving on the Board of Ed.
Thanks, Mr. Dolan. Kurt?
Yes, I did see Brad Sullivan's letter, and it was quite inappropriate. I shared it with Anselmo Delia, and he can't be here this morning, but he asked me to read the following. He says, "As you may know, Doug and I have had disagreements and confrontations in the past, but I am concerned that any view seen as contrary to the majority or mainstream pro-blind spending in lockstep with the school systems and the administrator's recommendation is now the litmus test for election and or appointment to the Board of Education. It certainly wasn't so when I served on the Board of Education in the early 90s. Dissenting views are good to have in an open, democratic society. They stimulate discussion and reflection. The history of the U.S. Supreme Court is replete with dissents, which ultimately became the majority views because they were written by thoughtful, courageous justices. I would also like to remind you that Brad Sullivan and 3 of his fellow Board of Finance members attempted to restore the $200,000 that this body, I think, rightfully, in a 2-to-3 vote, decided to make a modest cut to $1 million budget, $1.2 million budget. And they, on a 3-to-3 vote, lost trying to overturn you. They did overturn you on cutting the police budget. And it is you do need some dissenting voices, and you also need people who dig into these budgets, dig deep into them. So I hope that you will vote unanimously, because I think if you don't vote unanimously, you're leaving one or the other of the people on this board at the mercy politically, and I think it's a courageous and the right thing to do, to unanimously appoint him to this position. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Okay, anybody else? All right, moving on. We have a letter from the Republican Town Committee. It's still stated in a fairly exciting night, but not controversial.
It's all relative.
Right. Doug was nominated by the town committee, sent to us as their recommended appointment to the Board of Ed to fill the vacancy, and that will be until November 2017. You want to say a few words, Mr. Traynor?
Well, a lot of words have been said already this morning, and I didn't realize what controversy I had
Always causing
created. Try not to, but I would like to be appointed to the Board of Education because I think I can do a very good job for the town. I am not experienced in the Board of Education's workings, so I have to get up to snuff, but I have read Tom Mooney's epistle, cover to cover, and all his notes. I have read every minute that has been published for the last 4 years, and have worked to understand the budget of the Board of Education. I represented the Board of Finance in the last 2 negotiations with the teachers union to provide information to the teachers union if requested. I'm familiar with many of the current commissioners, and I do represent a Republican point of view, and I think that should be expected, being a representative of the RTC and the Republican Committee of the state. But I understand that it is a state agency as well as a town agency. I don't expect to change the world. I don't expect to create problems that don't exist. I do want to understand each issue and understand it fully, and I will comment accordingly. And please don't ask me to do more, because I won't.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody nominate Doug?
I'm nominated.
Second on Doug? Any discussion or questions for Doug? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of Doug?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Abstention, none. Motion carries. Very good.
Thank you. Mr. First Selectman, would you swear me in?
I can't, we got a new town clerk, I can go see her after, I don't want, you know, I got trouble with the old town clerk for swearing people, and you know, I can do it.
Thank you.
I don't wanna get on the wrong foot with Sharon.
No.